Hi, and welcome to the micro lecture on approaches to new product development. I can just tell you from personal experience that there's many different ways of going about developing new products. They come from a lot of different places and a lot of different sources. And so to say there's a few is just probably not a good way or correct way of looking at it. So but I will still give you a framework or an idea of where these ideas do come from. So when we think about it within our marketing framework, we have to think about products. We have to think about how to develop new products and introduce them to customers. We're going to talk about through these series of micro lectures what the product life cycle is, and how do we do new products and extensions fit into our marketing strategy. What trends should I be looking for? There's lots of different things we should be considering when we consider about coming up with new products. The new product development process, it's not quite as linear as it's being presented here, but there's the idea generation stage of it. Ideation is a word you'll hear in reference to that. I always like that word. That's totally made up by marketers. But ideation. Yeah. So there's an assessment of market potential. There's doing concept testing. There's design and development stage, and there's a beta testing stage, and there's the actual launch. As you have seen, it's kind of funny that we're approaching this from a fairly out of order sense, but we've been working on developing a new product for our own class plan, and but all these things are sort of a continuum. It just keeps happening, and we're always looking for new products and new ideas and things like that. So the new product development process, as I was just saying, is not necessarily linear. It's important to continually revisit prior decisions, change them when necessary, and in the product idea process. You're going to find things that you say, gee, those aren't very good ideas right now, but maybe you come back, revisit them later. There's all kinds of different things that can happen as you go through this whole process of developing new products. And certainly marketing is involved throughout the entire process. And companies approach this in many different ways. Some are more innovative than others, but nonetheless, this is how it works. Idea creation, well, it comes from a lot of different sources. It can come from the boss, and smaller companies is particularly true. But in larger companies as well. A company that you may or may not have ever heard of called Sharper Image had this knack of developing really innovative new products that some of them really took hold. And the boss in that company's name is Richard Thalheimer. He was the idea guy. He came up with all these different ideas and he made them work. And some of them are extraordinarily successful. So look up Sharper Image sometime. If you ever, as a kid, went around on something called a Razor scooter, well, that came from them. Okay. It also can come from R&D, in-house experts, people that are there to be part of the new product development process. Certainly, pharmaceutical companies are constantly looking for new products. They have a very concerted effort to come up with new ideas and new products that way through R&D. Other companies, not so much. An interesting company I always thought of was 3M. 3M actually allows their engineers to come up with ideas for different types of applications of processes and products. And then they are further leveraged by marketing people who say, like, yeah, I can turn that into a product I can sell into my market space. So by way of example, the Post-it note was ultimately created. We all know what Post-it notes are. Those little yellow pieces of paper that we stick all over the place. That really was developed by an off-the-shelf technology that was developed by 3M engineers of a very low-tech but strong adhesive And that's that little strip that actually makes it stick somewhere. And somebody put in the yellow paper itself, nothing fancy about that. It's just yellow paper. So they put it on there and created a whole new product and became one of the top selling products in their line. So it's amazing stuff what happens there. So employees can come up with ideas. You can get ideas from the sales force. As I develop products, I almost always talked about the ideas with people in the sales force, because they're on the front lines. They know what's going on, and they can give you some kind of a gut check against your ideas. Okay. You can also create ideas externally from customers. There's lots of different ways of doing that. I was involved in many different customer panels that came up with ideas for manufacturers of things that they can look into pursuing. There's lots of different things that are out there for it. And lots of organizations are in continual marketing research. And there's some things you can do digitally these days that are very interesting. You can introduce new concepts and just get a pulse on whether they're good ideas or not through your own website. It's amazing what you can do. Business partners can come to you with ideas. You can look at what's happening in the competitive landscape and get some ideas from that. So there's lots of different ways to actually generate ideas for new products. Usually when you come up with ideas internally, you kind of run them through the initial ringer, if you will, and we're going to say, try to understand, is it really worth pursuing or not? Who's the target segment? What is the size? Who are the competitors? Which of our products might we cannibalize, in other words, borrow from to develop a new product? Do we have channels already in place to sell the product? Does the product fit the firm? That strategic fit we've talked about all along. Interestingly enough, this is what we're doing, right? So our project is bringing this new concept to the table and to the marketplace, and it's kind of this is a microcosm of what you're doing in the class project. Okay, so we come up with some ideas. We obtain feedback on plausible ideas. Use marketing research. You saved a company from a bad idea. Certainly yield information to tweak an idea. Encourage the pursuit of a good idea. All those things are what marketing research might show us. And there's lots of different ways to do research. The traditional ways are focus groups, that type of thing, but there's a lot more being done online now. So you can look at a lot of different factors in making a determination of whether you want to pursue this or not. I love focus groups personally to help me develop that. You can learn a lot from your target customer, how they react to the idea of your product. So participants give feedback on product concepts, lots of different things. We can use it to, for example, understand what features that turn into benefits and get a sense of how they value them. Since we went through that process, it's a very important takeaway you can get from the whole concept testing stage. And the results of the research is utilized to normally develop some type of a prototype, and that could be an idea or it could be an actual product. Prototypes are so much easier to develop these days if you're doing a physical product. Like with a 3D printer, for example, you can actually create a product, not a production necessarily value product, but one that kind of gives you a rough idea what the product's going to be. That replaces a prototype, which I can recall spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on prototypes that were being developed to create a product that would sell for about $1 to the consumer. So, you can see where it can be a pretty expensive proposition. And then we do some testing. We can make a beta version, make it available for trial. We can do those things very easily in certain types of marketplaces, not so easily in others. And then you get, in the automotive industry, which is obviously you can't just start building trial versions of a car, but you can create concept cars and you can test concept ideas and see how people react to them. So, and that's a very famous way to develop products in the automotive industry. consumer reactions you can look at as well. Lots of different types of things. I used to do focus groups and that type of thing for all kinds of advertising. And yeah, it's just, there's no end to it. I mean, you can really get some great feedback on what you've been doing. Testing is something that is done on a smaller scale right now. There used to be huge consumer tests done on new products. Procter & Gamble famously came up with the line, "If it plays in Peoria," because Peoria, Illinois was a microcosm of of the United States, that they love to test new products there, Procter & Gamble. And they say if it plays in Peoria, it's got to be good. That was sort of a, flip way of putting it, but that's what they were saying. So test marketing is was the way it was done. I would say today it's done a lot less for lots of reasons, not the least of which it's really expensive. And it's also, not surprisingly, you can tip off, it's like, hey, if they're testing it in Peoria, they're thinking about coming out with it, maybe competition needs to react to that. So those are all very real things you have to deal with. So we talked about electronic test markets. They become more important. There's lots of different ways we can do that. And you may or may not have realized that you were part of this testing when you were doing some things on a website, for example. And then the last thing I'm going to bring up is the amazing thing that's happening with digital data. There's all kinds of data out there to run against your ideas. So you can look at recent purchasers of a certain product. You can look at some of the information they've given and extrapolate information from that and from the data that you have available. So this plays right into what we're talking about since the beginning of class, that there's a whole lot of data out there that we can mine into and really understand a lot about, particularly as it's applied to making an idea for a new product into the actual product. So those are all the types of things that we look at when we come up with these ideas. Next up we're going to talk about is actually launching our new product into the marketplace. If you have any questions about this, please let me know.